What is going on, guys? Drumvillain here and welcome back to some more Pokemon Go PvP content. Now, a quick note before we start, we did hit level 47. We finally got round to powering up 2 more Pokemon to level 50. Now, we have been at the XP requirement for a little while now, but we were kind of waiting on powering up 2 more Pokemon. We were a little short on Stardust, of all things. We've been spending pretty heavily recently. And the 2 Pokemon we chose to power up was a Machamp, as we've got quite a few Hundo Machamps. It seemed fitting to power at least one of them up to level 50, and we did have the candy from Machop Community Day a couple of months back. Now, we wanted to power up 2 Pokemon with play and use, and we figured Machamp has decent play in PvP and in Master League, so that would probably come in handy. And we also chose to go with Aggron. Now, this was a bit of a grind for XL Candy. We've been catching them for a while, transferring them, doing whatever we can to get that XL Candy. And we figure at some point we're getting Mega Aggron, and maybe Mega Aggron's going to have more use and more play than regular Aggron currently does. But either way, figured might as well max it out, get it done, something a little bit unusual to have at level 50 at this point. Now let's talk about today's team. We're running Shadow Poliwrath in the lead. Now this isn't an XL Poliwrath, this is a 100% IV Shadow Poliwrath. It's my only 100% IV Shadow Pokemon that I've got, and I built it into a Poliwrath before Politoed got the buff with Weather Ball. So I might have considered that instead at the time, if it wasn't already built. And we're running Alolan Muk on the, well, we're kind of alternating Seiswap depending on what we run into. But we're running Alolan Muk, Snarl Dark Pulse and Sludge Wave rather than Gunk Shot. And we've also got Lapras in the back. And again, none of these are XL. These are all kind of PvP spready apart from the Lapras. But yeah, the Poliwrath is level 39, I think. The Alolan Muk is level 40 bang on, and the Lapras is around level 38-ish. Now let's jump into some battles. So on the first matchup, we get an Obstagoon lead. Now, we saw quite a lot of Obstagoon leads running this team, and it is a good matchup if you land the Dynamic Punch. The Dynamic Punch is super threatening, it's double super effective, and it's stab. It's going to one-shot an Obstagoon if it lands. But if they shield a Dynamic Punch, they're going to start outpacing you with Cross Chops. Assuming they have Cross Chop. If they don't have Cross Chop, it's a much better matchup because they can't really go for Night Slashes as they'll be resisted. But here we're going to go for double Dynamic Punch. See if we land it. We don't. And now we can make it to the second, but they catch it on a Cresselia, which is an insanely good play on their part. It wastes the energy. There's no way we can get to another Dynamic Punch now with that Poliwrath. So it means that Obstagoon is going to be quite a bit of hard work for us later on in the back. Now this team in general isn't a big fan of Obstagoon. The counters hit Alolan Muk for neutral, they hit Lapras for super effective. So really it's best case scenario to see it on the lead, and you really want to deal with it while it's there. Now obviously we kind of had a worst case scenario where they had Cross Chop and where they shielded the Dynamic Punches and didn't call the bait. I don't feel like it's worth baiting, because if they call the bait, you're in an even worse position and you might as well at least either get shields or take them out. So now the Obstagoon's coming back in, we're going to shield this Cross Chop and hopefully we're going to get to this Sludge Wave and take it out. We really don't want this thing to have much time, if any, on the Lapras, but this isn't quite going to take it out. So this is looking a little iffy in this first matchup for sure. But also with an Obstagoon lead and Cresselia on the safe swap, I've got a feeling that what's in the back might struggle a little with Lapras, because Lapras is very strong in general in the Open Ultra League, threatening Giratina quite heavily, threatening some of those flyers. It's good against Talonflame, which is not a very popular choice. So they hit us with the Cross Chop, but we've got some energy. What's in the back? It's the Giratina. It's exactly what Lapras wants to see in the back. They've got no shield, so we're going to be able to land this Ice Beam. But we are already at half health, and Giratina is a thick, chunky boy. He is going to do some serious damage on his way out. This is going to be very close. And they've got Ancient Power. They don't get the boost. Thank the powers that be that they didn't get the boost. We have to throw this Surf just for the extra tick damage and take them out, hopefully before they get to a Dragon Claw. And they go down. GG's. So we're going to go jump into the second match against P Cooper 835. And we get a Swampert lead. Now, Swampert against Poliwrath is a pretty good matchup, so they swap out immediately into Honchkrow. Now Honchkrow is pretty spicy for Open Ultra. I think this was the only Honchkrow I've seen in Open Ultra. Takes massive damage from the Ice Punch. It is super squishy. And we decided to catch on Lapras. We're assuming this is going to be, well actually we didn't know if it was going to be a Brave Bird or a Dark Pulse, but we were happy to take it. because we're happy just to get rid of this thing and keep Switch. We shield here in case it is the Brave Bird. We don't want to lose Switch. We certainly don't want Muk lined up with the Swampert. So we found them down, got a little bit of energy. We got a Surf ready to go, build up a bit more energy and throw, just in case maybe they think it's a bit of a harder hitting move. They might be more tempted to shield, and they don't shield, they let it go through. And Lapras on Swampert is a pretty solid matchup. They have to land the Earthquake to do any reasonable damage, but at this point we are in Earthquake range, and being down a shield, we're not going to shield this. We're going to let Lapras go down. It is the Earthquake, takes us out. Going with the Poliwrath, and they swap out immediately into, I think it was a Cresselia they catch this Ice Punch on. Yeah, it's a Cresselia, so we're going to get Alolan Muk in here right away. Now we are down a shield with Alolan Muk, and the main thing that can screw this up is if this first Moonblast gives us an attack debuff, and it does. It debuffs our attack, and this can really mean that Cresselia isn't knocked out by 2 Dark Pulses. But we do have that bit of Ice Punch chip damage on top, so it's probably still in double Dark Pulse range. They shield the first one, they don't shield the second, so they're pretty low, but Poliwrath would still struggle to take this out at this point. They swap out into Swampert, and we're gonna have to shield this. Surely we have to shield this if we want to win this match. Yep. I'm gonna shield, swap to Poliwrath, and we can tank any charge move here that Swampert wants to throw at us. We've got energy left on the Muk, ready to threaten the Cresselia. So really, we can farm this down. We're gonna spam Ice Punches at Cresselia, make it feel threatened, make it have to throw, because they do still have a shield. And if they manage to farm us down, we could be in bigger trouble. So we're just gonna keep throwing these Ice Punches, make them use the shield, make them use some energy, and then we can come in with Muk, throw the Dark Pulse, and clean up this game. So a pretty positive lead, but still somewhat close. A lot of Ultra League games either feel really decimatingly bad, you either lose really hard, or it's a very close match. There doesn't seem to be much middle ground in Ultra League. GG. So, jumping into the third match against Zoomiest, and we get a Lapras lead. Now, Lapras is a very good lead for Poliwrath. Poliwrath is resisting all the moves unless it happens to be running Skull Bash, which would be very spicy for Open Ultra. And they swap into a Giratina, and we've got Lapras to punish this, and Lapras is a very good answer to a Giratina. The Ice Shards really start chipping away, but Giratina is incredibly dominant in Ultra League in general, and you're going to see that Giratina can really still threaten a Lapras over time because the Dragon Claws really start adding up. So we're going to bait with Surf. We're going to assume they really want Switch advantage, and they do shield, which is good, because if they shield an Ice Beam, then we definitely have to start thinking about investing shields ourselves to make sure we can definitely get it down. So the Giratina is getting pretty low at this point, but we're gonna go for Ice Beam now, because we know if they do shield, which they do, we can probably, well, we could double shield and maybe get to another Ice Beam, but we decided not to bother. We're gonna take our 2 shield advantage, because we know that Muk with 2 shields is still pretty reasonable against Lapras. So we're gonna keep the 2 shields and see what we can do. Now the Giratina is going to make it to another Dragon Claw and do a bit of extra chip damage, but we're not going to shield. We're not too stressed about the little bits of chip damage. It's the harder hitting charge moves you need your shields for in Ultra, but they've got a Clefable. So losing Switch advantage here is actually pretty devastating, but the 2 shield advantage is going to be our saving grace here, because we're going to be able to comfortably win this matchup against Lapras, even though Lapras, it doesn't actually, it slightly outpaces Alolan Muk over time to charge moves, but also Muk hits harder. So we're going to hit him with a Sludge Wave, and then we might have to hit him with another Sludge Wave to take him out. We might just have to go triple Sludge Wave, double Sludge Wave the Lapras, and a Sludge Wave the Clefable. But there isn't really a threat of Clefable getting to a charge move, so we're comfortable to overcharge here a little bit, risk some damage, and just make sure that we can get to the Sludge Wave against the Clefable, which will one-shot it. Like, Clefable's pretty bulky, but this is a hard-hitting move with stab, and it's super effective. One-shots it, get wrecked, get out of there, GG. So you could argue that Switch advantage in that match was absolutely imperative, but also double shielded Alolan Muk is an absolute monster. Now we've got an XL Talonflame on the lead here, and you would assume this is a good matchup for Poliwrath, being that it's water. So it's resisting the Incinerate, it's resisting the Flame Charger, so it has to go for Brave Bird to do any meaningful damage. But that Brave Bird would one-shot, so it's very threatening. They do go straight for the Brave Bird and swap out into an Umbreon. So that's 2 XL Pokemon on this team we're up against here. And we're just going to stay in and go straight for Dynamic Punch. Umbreon is not a good answer to a Poliwrath. Umbreon's going to struggle here. They have to go for Last Resort, which is going to do a decent chunk, especially since we're Shadow, but they throw a Foul Play. Like, we're not bothered about shielding. We've already spent 1 on the Brave Bird from Talonflame, so they weren't really going to get another shield out of us here. We're going to go double Dynamic Punch. We take out the Umbreon in 2 shots, and the Talonflame comes back in. So maybe whatever's in the back really isn't a good answer to Poliwrath. We're not sure, but we're happy to stay in here with Poliwrath, keep throwing these Ice Punches. We're going to make them throw. If they want to throw the Brave Bird and take us out, they can. If they want to throw a Flame Charge, which they do, it doesn't quite take us out. So we're going to get to another Ice Punch. If they want Talonflame alive, they better shield this, which they do. And we're going to have Lapras come in here and be able to do some decent damage. But now that their attack's ramped up, this is quite threatening. This would hit hard if it's Brave Bird, and it hit fairly well if it's Flame Charge, to be honest, with it being neutral. And it's a XL Stunfisk in the back. This is a triple XL team. XL Talonflame, XL Umbreon, and XL Stunfisk. So this trainer is committing in their resources to climbing in GBL today. And it does massive damage, but it doesn't quite one-shot because Stunfisk is very defense-oriented. So it doesn't manage to one-shot Alolan Muk with the Earthquake. It gets to another Dark Pulse, but it's able to take it because it's so bulky. Now, can Lapras clean this matchup? Can the non-XLs beat the XL squad? Umbreon, Galarian, Stunfisk, and Talonflame is a pretty tough XL squad. We're gonna have to commit to the farm down here as they've still got a shield and go for the double Surf on Stunfisk. So as long as they don't have a Rock Slide ready that they can throw now, we should have this match. And we get to it. That's gonna give us the win. GG, match point goes to the non-XL squad. Poliwrath had play there against every Pokemon on the team, with Talonflame actually being the worst matchup, which is kind of crazy to think about. And this next matchup is an Obstagoon again. Like I said, we saw so many Obstagoons, and they swap out immediately into Talonflame, so we're just going to bring Lapras in. Lapras is a pretty good answer to Talonflame. The Surf does massive damage. The Ice Shards start adding up over time. You know you can take the first charge move. Brave Bird would get us pretty low, but then our Ice Shards would be very threatening to them as well. So we're just going to go for the Surf, their shield, and now we're going to have to shield this, because even if it's a Flame Charge, it would take us out. Talonflame is really strong in Open Ultra League and in Ultra Premier, so even this, which would seem like a cut and dry dominant matchup for Lapras, is really not. But we're able to make it to another Surf. We lose CMP tie. We're gonna probably we're gonna shield this to get this Surf off and take out the Talonflame. We threw 1 extra Ice Shard to make sure they weren't going to swap and catch, because when they're partway through their animation for Incinerate, they can't swap out and catch. Obstagoon comes in and farms us down, but now all shields are down, so we can guarantee a landing Dynamic Punch as long as they don't catch. I'm going to be able to take them out. The Cross Chops do decent damage over time. They do swap and catch, and they catch on a Mandibuzz. We're seeing all the XL Spice today in the Open Ultra League. Now, again, XL Mandibuzz, very solid pick. Does great against Cresselia and Giratina, with it being that dark typing. So it resists the Ghost moves, the Psychic moves, and it will resist the Grass Knot from Cresselia, it resists the Future Sight. Be weak to the Moonblast, so I guess they'd probably have a pretty neutral matchup. And we're going to bring in Muk here. We kind of want to preserve the Poliwrath. We know we need that really to take out the Obstagoon. So Muk has a pretty decent matchup because Mandibuzz is probably running Aerial Ace, which it is, which is not going to hit Muk that hard. Aerial Ace is an absolutely trash move. Now we've got to stall out the clock, give a chance for the Switch Clock to come back up, but it is a CMP tie. This is either going to take out the Muk or get us very low, and so now it's really going to be on Poliwrath here to clean this matchup. And the Mandibuzz is weak to Ice Punch, and the Dynamic Punch hits for neutral thanks to the Dark typing. So really, it's not a very dominant matchup. It's just the Aerial Aces will hit pretty hard. But again, it doesn't take us out, even though it's super effective and stab and we're a Shadow. It's just not a good move. So we're able to land the Ice Punch, take them out, GG. Now, these matches aren't in any particular order. They're not actually from back-to-back battles or back-to-back sets. They're the most interesting games with some varied leads that I thought would be the most interesting to showcase on how this team performs. We did see a lot of Obstagoon leads and a lot of Swampert leads, and a lot of lineups that were the same, that played out very much the same. So we didn't want to just keep showing the same matchup over and over again, so we have mixed it up a little bit. In this match, we got a Melmetal lead, which, as you can guess, is very dominant for Poliwrath being that fighting type. And again, they safe swap into a Giratina, and Lapras is a very solid punish to a Giratina. We land the Ice Beam, which is great, so now we can just farm them down. We're going to throw one more Dragon Claw, get us pretty low, and we've got some energy, so we can throw some Surfs at the Melmetal. We're expecting to get farmed down, which isn't brilliant because we certainly don't want to be taking 1 or 2 superpowers on the Poliwrath before they swap out. So we're just going to have to see what they choose to do. If we're able to get to another Surf, they're really committing to this farm down. They might have to throw. No, they managed to get us down, but they've got basically 100 energy at this point. So, but we choose not to shield. We're pretty sure they don't bait us. They land a superpower. It does less than half, which is definitely worth noting because the second superpower does less. So we know we can take that. And they swap out, they've got a Togekiss in the back. It was good that we were fast on that swap because that one Charm might have taken us out. So, Muk on a Charmer is a very good matchup, generally. But they save 2 shields, which means if we go Sludge Wave and if they shield it, we cannot make it to 3 Sludge Waves before the Charm takes us out. So we have to bait twice with Dark Pulse. There is no room for error. We can't let them get Charms through, and we just make it to the Sludge Wave. We just make it. This will one-shot the Togekiss. This was absolutely clutch, and probably just because we have that PvP IV maxed out Muk. Non-XL obviously, but maxed out level 40 Muk, and we take the win. GG. Now, there are few things as satisfying as seeing a Togekiss get annihilated by a Sludge Wave. And this is a crazy matchup. We get an Alolan Golem lead. This is probably the spiciest thing I've ever seen in Open Ultra. This is absolutely wild. Now, it's hard to tell if this is a good matchup or not because the Volt Switches hit for super effective. Because for a water type, they have access to Wild Charge. So we have to shield. It's just a Rock Blast, which wouldn't be that threatening. But they're threatened by the fighting moves, which would take them out. So this is a very weird matchup. So we're just going to go straight Dynamic Punch. They shield both the Dynamic Punches, which is kind of bad for us. And we just get an extra Mud Shot through. I'm sure at this point there are 2 Rock Blasts. But we got that through, so we can force through the Dynamic Punch. I think Poliwrath wins CMP tie, but I'm not 100% sure on that. We take out the Alolan Golem. They've got a Charmer to meet us. We bring in the Alolan Muk. They swap out to Giratina. We've got the Lapras. They realise that's game. They surrender. GG. Shout out to the Alolan Golem Spice. I like it. I'd be tempted to try using that myself at some point. And we get another Swampert lead. This is a Shadow Swampert. So the Earthquake from this thing, if they land it, is going to hurt. And they're staying in, which we're kind of glad of because we keep it away from the Alolan Muk. And they call the bait on an Ice Punch, which is kind of bad for us, kind of scary. So we're going to shield the Earthquake, which is amazing for us. And now we can just go for another Ice Punch. Because it's the Shadow with the Mud Shots, this damage does really add up, but they don't shield. And we decided to swap out into Lapras and snipe them down. I guess they didn't react fast enough to swap out themselves, but now we're punished with a Cresselia. And if this Cresselia has Grass Knot, it becomes quite a dominant matchup for Cresselia over Lapras. Lapras can hold its own and do some good damage, but if it's Grass Knot, we are going to lose this matchup. It is. Hits us pretty hard there, as you can see. But at least we've dragged this thing out now, so we can get the Muk locked onto it, and we've still got a very healthy Poliwrath to deal with whatever's in the back as well. Although we are down a shield here. So we're not going to shield this again. And they can't farm us down. They have to throw another. It would be a very optimistic farm down. So you can see the Lapras is pretty low here now. And they're going for that farm down. They're committing down to it. But they throw at the last second. They pull the trigger. And at this point, they're low enough where if they chose to stay in, the Muk can probably farm it down with Snarls, which is incredibly threatening to almost anything they could have in the back. Very few things completely wall off the energy of an Alolan Muk. And they are sending the swap out last second into an Umbreon. And we got Sludge Wave for this, which is going to hit pretty hard. But the real prize is having Poliwrath still locked onto it, still healthy. We can take any charge move it throws here. We probably can't take 2 last resorts. Yeah, another last resort after this point would take us out. So we're going to pull the trigger on the Dynamic Punch here. hit it pretty hard. They do shield, which yeah, they had to start shielding at some point. So I guess really it would have been clever to throw an Ice Punch there. It would have been a very easy bait to pull off, but we're not about that bit life here. We're here to get shields or do damage. So the Umbreon's now super low. We're not shielding. The Cresselia comes in and farms down. We'll come back in with the Muk. Hopefully farm down the Cresselia and then have energy left to sweep up what's left in the game. I'm going to shield the Moonblast. This feels, yeah, Moonblast is the highest damaging move left in. Umbreon can't hit Muk that hard. And we're going to throw this because we're probably going to get to 2 Dark Pulses before we farm down the Umbreon because Umbreon's so bulky. The game time is coming up now, so this is going to be pretty close. But I'm pretty sure this is our match here. Yep, we just managed to farm down. We take the win. Good game. So we've had a lot of positive leads with Poliwrath. Let's look at what I consider a bad lead, and that's Machamp. Now Machamp is just difficult to deal with this team. Alolan Muk doesn't like it, Lapras hates to see it, and the counters and cross chops really add up on Poliwrath. And they close combaters, which is absolutely insane. Like, you never see close combat Machamps in Open Ultra, but this person, they bloody got me. They one-shot the Poliwrath, they take us out, and this is not looking good at this point because the Machamp swaps out, so it's in the back. We've still got to deal with it, and we figure, well, Muk's got a slightly better matchup with it than Lapras does, so we're going to do some chip damage on this Snorlax, and then we're going to swap into Lapras. I'll take this move first. We're going to swap into Lapras, farm it down and have a lot of energy. But the Snorlax has Earthquake. This person is an absolute madman, just throwing nukes around like nobody's business. He's not here to bait, he's here to do damage. He lives and dies the same way we do. He plays it our way. We like this guy, absolute respect. And they've got a Gengar as well to round out this squad, and they've managed to keep it away from our Alolan Muk, which is absolutely awful for us. So this person has absolutely run over our team here. We're in a real uphill battle to deal with this Machamp, and they realise they don't need to shield the Gengar. They know Machamp's their win condition. They're just going to go for an aggressive farm down and spam our Muk with charge moves. And so they use their last shield, and we don't have any health. We go down with 2 shields, and we lose that match, but good game. Shout out to you, well played. So yeah, Machamp, very difficult to deal with, and that's if they don't land a close combat. If they land a close combat, you might as well wave bye to the whole match. And we get in this match a Charizard lead, a Dragon Breath Charizard. So this is more threatening than Fire Spin Charizard is, because although it gains energy a little slower, the Dragon Breath damage really adds up and even starts to make shielding Dragon Claws worth considering, because as you can see, we're already nearly down to half health. So we decided to swap out into Lapras and tempt them to swap in case they got something weak to Poliwrath in the back, and he drags out a Registeel, which is great because Alolan Muk does okay against Registeel, but it's still a losing matchup. So it's something that's definitely worth dragging out to then get the Poliwrath on later. And Lapras, you can see it can take that Focus Blast pretty comfortably. A Flash Cannon would take us out at this point now, but we're just going to be able to spam some Surfs, do at least some chip damage, but Registeel is an absolute unit. Looking at the CP, I think it's just a regular Hundo. I think that's the 2447 at level 40. So I don't think it's an XL Registeel, which is obviously be even thicker, but I don't know how anyone would even have the potential to have built an XL Registeel at this point. So we bring in Poliwrath and they swap out into Charizard immediately. So they save the Registeel in the back. They must be thinking that I'm weak to Registeel in the back maybe. And we shield the Dragon Claw, get hit with the Blast Burn. That's awful for us. So now we're just thinking, I guess we farm down with Muk and hope that we can somehow sweep in the back. Even though we're down a shield, we've got half a Muk and a little bit of Poliwrath left to catch something on. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this Dark Pulse, take out the Registeel, and it's a Swampert in the back. This is bad news bears. This is not what we want to see. So we're just going to keep spamming these Dark Pulses. It's roughly 2 Dark Pulses to take out a Swampert. It's, I think, 2 Dark Pulses plus the Snarl damage generally will take out an Ultra League Swampert. And we've used our shield. They sneak a Mudshot in, which is obviously bad for us. And this is just not looking good in general. They've still got a shield. Even if we'd have caught on the Poliwrath, they'd have outpaced us. We couldn't have made it to another move. So this is just going to be a good game. Oh, actually, we got a Ice Punch off on the Poliwrath. So maybe No, because we would have been found on either way. GG. So a Charizard lead in general can be good for Poliwrath, but in that case we just got dramatically outplayed. Now an Empoleon lead, again, brilliant lead for Poliwrath. They swap out immediately to Giratina, and we can punish this with the Lapras. And it's a Dragon Breath Giratina, which is a little less common at this point in Open Ultra League, but they're still around, and it still does good damage, but they get to the Dragon Claws a little slower, which is obviously I think it's a reasonable trade-off for the extra damage that Dragon Breath even does put out. But the Empoleon lead with Poliwrath is very strong. Obviously, Empoleon gets almost one-shot by a Dynamic Punch. You're resisting the Waterfalls. With Poliwrath, you're resisting the Hydro Cannons. The Drill Peck will hit for decent damage, but it's not going to one-shot you, so you can even take one and don't have to worry about shielding. So it's a pretty dominant matchup. And they're double shielding with Giratina. They really want to keep Empoleon away from our Muk, but we are going to be able to take them out. We're going to land this Ice Beam, and I guess they're going to farm us down with Empoleon. Yeah, they're going to farm us down. They want to be able to land a Drill Peck on the Poliwrath. But like I said, we can actually take this. So we're not going to shield. It's going to hit for good damage, but it's not going to one-shot us. They swap out into Clefable. We've got the Muk. All shields are down. At this point, Muk might even sweep this match because it's going to one-shot the Clefable here. And Muk can do good damage against Empoleon when shields are down. But it doesn't one-shot actually. That is a thick Clefable. Is it an XL Clefable maybe? But either way, it takes the Sludge Wave. And we're going to shield this Medium Ash. Are we going to go for a Snarl farm down on a Fairy? Absolute madness. We get the farm down. We've got like 1 HP. We're going to throw this Dark Pulse and then maybe... Is the Switch Clock up yet? It's not up yet. This is kind of scary. But we're almost at the Dynamic Punch. The Empoleon hasn't got anywhere near enough energy. We get the Dynamic Punch off. We take them out. We take the win. Good game. And even with hard counters locked onto like Lapras on Giratina, Muk on a Clefable, and Poliwrath on Empoleon, that was still a close matchup. And in this game we've got Typhlosion. And this is a Shadow Claw Typhlosion, which was originally the move that Typhlosion ran with before it was given Incinerate. And in Open Ultra, it's still really the better move to have over Incinerate because that ghost damage is super effective to the Cresselias and the Giratinas, and the Blast Burn is huge damage to deal with the Charmers. So it's quite a unique pick, but they don't shield the Dynamic Punch and they get farmed down. And they've got a Meganium, which is, again, this person bringing double spice here. And he's going to do a good chunk of damage with the Ice Punch, but we are going to get farmed down. But now we've got Muk. So it doesn't wall it because Meganium has access to Earthquake, which is pretty scary. So we're going to shield, and they do throw the Earthquake, which is a huge call. And we can outpace. We can get to Dark Pulses faster than Meganium can get to Earthquakes. And even the Dark Pulse at this point is going to do good damage, not quite take it out. But we're going to swap into Lapras, hit him with an Ice Shard, snipe him down, and it's a Swampert in the back. Now a double shielded Swampert can do a lot of work against a Lapras and against a Muk, but the Muk is still so healthy, the Lapras is still so healthy. The Swampert really needs to be landing Earthquakes. So we figure I think we're going to shield this one. Yeah, because it's very unlikely they're going to bait at first. They're going to worry about baiting later on when we start getting low. So we figure shield the first one where it's most likely to be an Earthquake and put it to the most use. And then at this point, we really need to land a Surf and a Dark Pulse to take it out. But we swap into the Muk, we've got the Dark Pulse ready, and this is going to force them to throw another Earthquake to take out the Muk before we get to a Dark Pulse, which is going to be tough for them to get to. And if this is an Earthquake, they're going to be energy dry. So with Lapras, we can make it to a Surf and take them out. It's just a Hydro Cannon. We get to the Dark Pulse, it's going to take them out. We take the win. GG. I love seeing a good triple starter team. They're nice and cheap to build and pretty strong. Apart from I think the Meganium has to be level 40, so that's pretty expensive. So we're up now against Roydan 2016, and this is against one of what you would expect to be a very common lead, Giratina. But this was the only Giratina we saw while we were running this team. And it's a pretty neutral matchup, favours Giratina a little bit, but since both Muk and Lapras have much stronger matchups, we choose to swap out into Muk, because if they swap out, we've still got Lapras in the back for it anyway. So worst case scenario is Poliwrath line back up with it again anyway. And they do some serious damage and then swap into Talonflame. Now this is pretty bad. We're gonna let the Flame Charge go, and we're gonna just go ahead and throw a Sludge Wave and do some damage before we get farmed down. Now, you can make an argument for swapping into either Pokemon here, but we decided to go into Poliwrath because we figure Lapras has a better matchup against Giratina, so we might as well use up the Poliwrath here rather than Lapras getting smashed to pieces by this Talonflame on the way down. We shield the Brave Bird, which is great for us because now this Ice Punch is going to do a lot more damage, and it should go down to 2 Ice Punches, yeah, rather than 3. We decided to swap out to Lapras, and I don't know what this is we've caught. We've caught a Brave Bird. We don't shield it. That's bad. And they've got a Melmetal to punish our Lapras with. So this is pretty much GG's at this point. It's definitely an inevitable loss. We decide that maybe if we can get Ice Punches on the Giratina, we might still be able to clean it with Poliwrath. We've got to try something, but they shield the Dynamic Punch, and this is not looking good. We lose a CMP tie against Melmetal as well, so we're going to have to eat a superpower while we shield it. We decide that's going to be the move that's worth shielding because we should outpace the Talonflame to an Ice Punch to take it out at this point. So we're still looking at a little close. The Giratina's pretty close to Ice Punch range from a single, from a Shadow Poliwrath, but they catch on Talonflame, which is a shame because the Talonflame was energy dry, so we had the opportunity to farm up to another Ice Punch, so we had 2 stacked up, which was really the only win condition we had. We get farmed down, we lose, GG. So that match was very well played by my opponent. Now we're jumping into this match against Obstagoon again. Now this is again pretty dominant lead for Poliwrath, and we decide to go for the Dynamic Punch. We're not going to bait. We don't want, like I said, it's not worth them calling the bait on an Ice Punch. It really is worth getting the shield or doing the damage. They swap out into Muk, and Muk struggles against Poliwrath, to be honest. It does struggle a lot, so it's not the best swap into a Poliwrath, but we don't have a better answer for Obstagoon. So we have to swap out. And we should have thrown an Ice Punch to do a bit of chip damage to help guarantee that we would get switch advantage in this matchup. If I played this again, I would throw the Ice Punch before swapping out to either get a shield or do some good damage. So now it's not looking like we'll be able to win switch because this Muk has a slight energy lead. They do shield the Dark Pulse, which is great for us, and we lose a CMP tie getting to this move. We are going to shield so that we can at least throw this energy and put it to use and either get a second shield from them or get them very low. It does go through, and they swap out, and we both swap out simultaneously, and they swap into a Scizor. Now Scizzor's a pretty solid pick in Open Ultra League again, but we've got so much energy at this point. We're just going to throw the Dynamic Punch and the Ice Punch, take it out. The Scizzor's just gone, ceases to exist. The Obstagoon comes back in. We've still got energy. Now we're going to bait with Ice Punch. Do they think we're baiting? They do shield, which is great for us. We can make it to the Dynamic Punch and take them out, but are they going to catch? We keep having moves caught from Obstagoon, but they don't catch. We throw their Dynamic Punch. This is going to take out the Obstagoon, so this should be a pretty cut and dry win. What's in the back? It's just the Muk with a bit of health. Lapras full health, gonna farm down. They surrender, we take the win. Good game. So last match here now before I leave you guys with bonus match at the end where we'll lose lead. See if we win or not, and we've got a Swampert lead. So this is, again, pretty good lead for Poliwrath. Poliwrath wins a lot of leads in the Season 7 Open Ultra meta. A lot of people are planning for stuff like Talonflames. There's a lot of counters to the hard meta rather than the hard meta. So we didn't see any Cresselia leads, and we saw very, very few Giratina leads, which generally then means Poliwrath is looking pretty good against most other things. So we're probably not going to shield this yet. They're throwing pretty fast, so we're confident that they're throwing Hydro Cannons, but it doesn't hurt to be safe at that point. And we get a shield from them with the Ice Punch, and we're going to go for Dynamic Punch here. We outpace them just slightly there, which is good, so we get the shield out, we knock them out. They don't shield, we take them out, which is great. We're going to swap out and keep Poliwrath for whatever's in the back, but it's an Escavalier. And Escavalier is not good news. Escavalier has good play against Lapras for the counter damage, good play against Muk for the drill run damage, so we could have stopped him with Poliwrath, really, but we were worried they were really weak to Poliwrath in the back. If they're running double steel, then Poliwrath has a lot of play still against this team, and Muk is able to force a shield from Escavalier, which is really good. So now they're out of shields. We decide to come with Poliwrath, and we should shield this, and we should make it to the Ice Punch to take him out. We shield the Aerial Ace, which is great. We're not sure, we overfarm a bit, and they catch the Dynamic Punch on Registeel, which is absolutely wild to catch a Dynamic Punch on a Registeel, and we should outpace them and throw the next Dynamic Punch to be able to take them out. Now, Lapras struggles against Escavalier, but the Escav is low, Lapras is full health, we should be able to make it to our Surf and take them out, really, no matter what charge move they throw. So this should be GG for us at this point. Yep, we get to the Surf. This is going to take them out. We take the win. Good game to my opponent there. So as I was saying, Poliwrath has a lot of play in the meta. Well, it's got a lot of play against the anti-meta. All the things that are there to beat Giratina, beat Cresselia, Poliwrath's got play against all of them. So it's definitely carrying its own weight in this meta right now in Season 7. Now I'm going to leave you guys with bonus match against this Machamp lead, which I definitely class as a bad lead for this team in general. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos, more teams. It really does help out, and I will catch you dudes on the flip side.